Okay, I am at St. Martin's Stanford Church in Stamford, England, which is probably about 30 miles from Burton-on-the-Wolds and Prestwold Hall. And this is one of the larger towns here. This is in Lincolnshire again. As they say around here, Lincolnshire, not Lincolnshire. And this is a church near Burghley House, which is the home of the Cecil family, who are the current Marquises of Exeter, and they are descended from William Cecil, first Lord Burghley, who died in 1598 and was Lord High Chancellor of England under Queen Elizabeth I for probably close to 40 years, one of her wise counselors. And I'm going inside if I can get in today. I haven't checked the door to see if it's open today, but and I couldn't reach any or find a number at the time to call. Lord Burghley's sister, Margaret Cecil, was the great-grandmother of my ancestor, Diana Skipwith, so I'm related to this family as well. Lord Burghley would be my ancestral uncle many generations back. But his niece, his sister Margaret Cecil's daughter, Margaret Cave, was married to Sir William Skipwith, who is buried at the Prestwold Church that I visited the other day, if you remember. And her name is listed on the monument as his first wife and mother of all of his children. His second wife being Jane Roberts, who currently is on the monument with him today also. So we're going to try to go inside here and see if the church is open, and it is. Oh wow, good. This is wonderful. Okay, I am inside the church, and I already see the Cecil tomb, so I will go up in a minute, but I want to capture all of this. And I wished I could share the smell with you. It's very humid today because we had a big rainstorm last night, and kind of an old musty smell, as a lot of these old buildings have over here, but it just adds to the ambiance. And we're going up the center aisle here. And there's the organ. I always look at those, being a church organist, which I'm sure it's a very fine instrument. It looks like it. And I'm going up into the high altar here. And there before me is the tomb of my great-great something granduncle, William Cecil, first Lord Burghley, built Burghley House, which I will be visiting here in just a few hour or two. And for my documentation, I have to prove that I was here. Hopefully that picked me up. And I know that somewhere nearby, Lord Burghley's mother, Lady Jane Cecil, who was born Heckington from a local family here somewhere in Lincolnshire, and she would be my 14 times great-grandmother through Diana Skipwith. And I am going to see if I can find that marker, but I want to get in a little closer where we can see the writing on the side. And of course, these are strictly monuments to their life. The coat of arms up there on the top. Their bodies were actually buried below the altar here in the crypt, but these monuments here on top memorialize them. And I am going to try to find a way up here and see if I can find Jane Heckington Cecil, or the memorial stone to her. Oh, I found the way right here. Oh, this is great. So here we go. This has been a really great trip, touching base with my roots here and seeing all of this. I know a lot of descendants in America don't even know that we have this heritage here, and it's just really a great honor to be able to see all of this. So we have a little bit of a rundown of his life, and it reads, "Sacred to God," this is transcribing what's written on the side of the tomb. "Sacred to God, most good and great, and to memory, the most honorable and far-renowned Lord William Cecil, Baron of Burghley, Lord High Treasurer of England, President of the Court of Wards, Knight of the Most Noble Order of the Garter, Privy Councillor to the Most Serene Elizabeth, Queen of England, etc., and Chancellor of the University of Cambridge, under this tomb awaits the second coming of Christ, who, for the excellent endowments of his mind, was first made Privy Councillor to Edward VI, King of England, afterwards to Queen Elizabeth, under whom, being entrusted with the greatest and most weighty affairs of this kingdom, and above all others approved, in promoting the true religion and providing for the safety and honor of the Commonwealth, by his prudence, honesty, integrity, and great services to the nation, he obtained the highest honors, and when he had lived long enough to nature, long enough to glory, but not long enough to his country, quietly fell asleep in Christ. He had 2 wives, Mary, sister of Sir John Cheek, Knight, of whom he begot one son, Thomas, now Baron of Burghley, and Mildred that's the second wife, Mildred, daughter of Sir Anthony Cook, Knight, who bore to him Sir Robert Cecil, Knight, Privy Councillors to Queen Elizabeth and President of the Court of Wards, Anne, married to Edward, Earl of Oxford, and Elizabeth to William Wentworth, eldest son of Baron Wentworth. And I actually know that Elizabeth later on married, and his first name is escaping me, but married into the Wingfield family, because we will be seeing her memorial marker next week at one of the churches around here. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's not right. Lord Burghley's sister was Elizabeth. This is his daughter, Elizabeth. Okay, just strike everything I said about the Wingfields. Lord Burghley's sister, Elizabeth Cecil, married one of the Wingfields, who were in my family tree earlier back in the Skipwiths. And then Lord Burghley's sister, Margaret Cecil, who married Roger Cave at Stamford in Northamptonshire, were my direct ancestors. Their daughter marrying into the Skipwith line and being my 13th great-grandmother. Okay, that's your little genealogy lesson there, so I'll move on and see. Okay, here we go. This is the memorial to his mother. In happy memory of Richard Cecil, Esquire, and Jane, his wife. So these would be my 14th great-grandparents commemorated here. And I'm going to read this marker because it's going to be hard to see with the camera, I think. The said Richard was of the robes to King Henry the 8th and to King Edward the 6th. He deceased the 19th of May, 1552, and is interred in St. Margaret's Church in Westminster, I think it says. He was son to David Cecil of Stamford, Esquire, so they were landowners here for a while. High Sheriff of the County of Northampton. in the 33rd and 34th years of King Henry VIII, and is buried in St. George, his church in Stamford. Then the said James, the daughter and heir of William Heckington of Bourne in the county of Lincoln, Esquire. She lived 87 years. Wow. She lived 87 years, whereof she continued a widow 35 years. She deceased, and they're saying ye, but I'm just going to put it in modern English, the 10th of March, 1587. She was a very grave, religious, virtuous, and worthy it says matro, probably Latinish word for mother, and delighted exceedingly in the works of piety and charity. She was crowned with much honor and comfort, and by God his great blessing she lived to see her children and her children's children to the 4th and 5th generation, and in a plentiful and honorable succession, being a happy mother of the most honorable Sir William Cecil, this guy, Knight of the Noble Order of the Garter, Lord Burghley, Lord High Treasurer of England, who liveth here by her. And then these are the children, besides Lord Burghley. Here we go. This is my ancestors right here. Margaret was first married to Roger Cave of Stamford, Esquire, of whom is descended Sir Thomas Cave, and after to Ambrose Smith of Bosworth, Esquire. She was married twice because she's mentioned in her mother's will. I don't remember. I believe she was mentioned as Margaret Cave. So her first husband was still living, and then when Lord Burghley died, he also mentioned children and her and her children in his will, and she was listed as Margaret Smith. So I remember that. So this would be a commemorative figurine of Margaret. So this would be my 13th great-grandmother. Wow. Then the next daughter was Elizabeth, who was first married to Robert Wingfield of Upton, Esquire, of whom is descended Sir Robert Wingfield of Upton, Knight, and after to, I can't say, something Allington, Esquire. So this would be Elizabeth. And her first husband, Robert Wingfield, was related to me through an earlier line, through Jane Hall Skipwith, was a descendant of that family and cousins with the Wingfields. Last daughter, Anne Cecil. This is Lord Burghley's youngest sister. Anne was married to Thomas White, spelled W-H-Y-T, of Tuxford, Esquire, of whom is descended John White, Esquire. They gave a lot of detail on these. My goodness. Coat of arms is up there. Well, this is really awesome. Makes me feel very humbled in a lot of ways, but yet I'm proud of this. Such a long heritage, and some people who actually made a lot of English history. And it's hard to believe that so many descendants are in the United States. A lot of descendants here in this country. Queen Elizabeth II is actually descended from Lord Burghley quite, maybe a couple different times. I'm not sure. I know of one line through the Queen Mother for sure. So she and I share this common descent as well, amongst many others. A lot of memorials here. In memory of Brownlow, Dudley, Brownlow, Henry George, 4th Marquis of Exeter. Yeah. Although these folks are, there's Michael's. ancestors right there. I'm obviously related to these people. Georgina Sophia Pakenham, who is the wife of William Allen Cecil here, actually is descended from another line that ties into my mom's maternal grandmother, and that's a whole other story. The interrelationships in these families really are very nebulous, and it's sometimes hard to sort out. Wow, okay. William Martin Allen, 7th Marquess of Exeter, 1909 to 1988. He's interred in British Columbia. I am actually, although not physically acquainted, as of yet face-to-face acquaintance, but the 7th Marquess's son, the 8th Marquess, lives 8 hours drive from me in the state of Oregon, Michael Cecil. I'm going to have to show this to him. He and I have corresponded quite a few times by email. But that's awesome. I'm going to have to show that to him. A lot of Cecil monuments. So this has been quite a family history discovery here. And this pertains to my mother, my mother's family.